been a problem for many years. Taking it and making it right the best that we can. And you know, I commend Mr. Easterday for seeing that that's done and getting it completed.
Yeah, I'd say I appreciate Mr. Easterday. He has worked with this as much as anything else or anybody else. So, and I didn't even leave you out because I know what you were going to say is what everybody else has already said.
Right. No.
But appreciate that. All right, this time.
Actually, kind of got a weird, silly kind of question about this.
Sure.
Is, so the other parcels where they jump across the road, back in the day, most of them, they run under the road and we kind of just have the roadway. You know what I mean? Most parcels just meet under the road.
Correct.
Is this, the road's going to be the town's and then the property ends there? or
Yeah,
the
this-
property runs under
This
it?
one.
If you
it
look
is
at it,
down.
pass that around. So you can
It's an
look at it.
established road, so they can't.
You'll
build
see
on
how
the
it's
road anyway.
separate. It doesn't go across the road. Further down on West Shore where we've had that problem and been cleaning it up.
Yeah, that's why it was one of those questions,
Yeah.
is like further down the line.
And
we gotta
sometimes
decide.
you've got that, where the parcel
It was mine.
still shows when the old railroad
Yeah,
down, but the parcels went to the center line to the property on the side.
Right, 49.5 feet, 99 foot one driveway.
But yeah, and whatever that problem causes now, we have never been able to address that correctly, but we need to. All right. Any more questions or? I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the subdivision as presented by Mr. Easterday.
First and second, discussion. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Well, you have to do roll call since Bobby's online.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
so, yeah, you're right. Bobby,
Yes,
how do you vote?
yes, voting in favor.
Don Box,
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes.
yes.
Abstention?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Yes.
okay, and I vote yes.
Thank you.
We will record that and bring you back that copy.
You need 2 copies signed?
No, just one.
Yes. Got your keys.
Thank you. I wouldn't get very far without that.
No, keep it back.
Being retired.
He's got to earn his money.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now, we're in government commissioners report.
Simple.
Simple.
Everything's going in the right direction.
Good news. You say it twice.
No, we've been meeting with contractors and builders ahead of time, working on different projects. Last month, we had the rezoning for 415 Lakeshore was in front of us. They withdrew that. They are coming back with a new plan. They're going to be cutting down to 6 buildings. They're going to take the golf cart area.
6 units, not buildings. 1 building, 6 units.
No, there'll be 2 buildings. One on Lake Shore and one on, they're gonna come tie them together now.
Just across Lake Shore.
Okay, all right, so that's new and changed, so that'll be fine too. increased parking area. So, you know, I'm excited to see it. I felt bad that we maybe should have gone ahead with it last time. But, you know,
I think with all the discussion, not to bring it back up, but I mean, with all the discussion and concerns of enough citizens, I think it was the right decision to postpone it, and for their decision to withdraw.
you're correct. That was their decision.
I mean, I think we were actually doing everything that we needed to do as our positions. And
When are they coming out with that, George?
They're gonna plan on submitting for your April meeting.
The April meeting?
Yeah.
have you been discussing this with them much? Or
No, I'm getting
feedback?
filtered
Yeah,
down
they've been
information.
coming to my office to discuss their plan to make changes that address parking, traffic flow, and size. And then, you know, also the fact that they believe the site needs to be residential and not commercial. So
I know we had a.
there are a number
we
of
had
things
that number
in
of people
C2
wanting
that
to
could be
vote for
put
this.
there that,
I think under our comprehensive plan, I think that.
yeah, your comprehensive plan says we need more diverse housing and we need more housing.
Makes sense to me, but.
And while we're talking about that, and I told Jenny that I was going to talk about it tonight, and that's our comprehensive plan. Does everybody have a copy of our comprehensive plan?
No.
You were working on that last time, weren't you?
Okay, so we need one here and Bobby needs one too.
I'm not sure. I've seen it, but I don't know if I have it.
Okay, that
You
should,
get a copy, didn't you, Dan?
I'm not sure.
we will work on that for.
You should
before the
always
next
have
meeting.
one in the room or in front of a few of you because you're technically supposed to be following that.
We're going to be updating.
Yeah, we're probably a year out from a fresh comp plan, but
But for right now, we need to have that, and that's what you look at. Plan Commission, the guiding direction, guiding light for the Plan Commission is the comprehensive plan. And then the BZA, of course, a little bit different because theirs is the zoning ordinance. So,
So are you gonna get copies out to
yeah,
people?
I'll see when Karen gets back, we'll find out.
yeah, there's one on the town website too. You can
That's right,
download a
that-
PDF from
that's right.
there.
Yeah.
So,
It's very easy.
Mr. Monroe,
Yeah.
do we have a copy anywhere of our February minutes that we just approved?
There's
Put
an,
in the book So we have them signed.
yeah, there's an electronic copy from Don. I think he emails it to all of you. Are you suggesting I print it for you?
yes,
I'm asking. that today.
Oh, okay. Does Karen usually put in the book for you? Is,
Somebody's been.
I
doing
can
It's
print it
always
for
been
you.
there.
Karen usually does.
yeah, that's okay. I'll
She
get it
punches
printed.
and-
Yeah, I mean, but I know we had a problem getting these minutes signed during the COVID thing, with everybody online. Now that we've actually got enough members here that we can kind of keep up with signatures.
Yeah, let me just make sure I have a copy. I'm sure Don had sent it out and copied me, but I think I have 10 different emails with Don's name. Might be under Fox.
Want another one? It's here right now. You know, look for it.
Yeah, if you're connected to the internet, send it to me because I'm not seeing it.
Not connected. I will be town public Wi-Fi.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I agree to all terms. Acting, welcome to town of Culver. It looks like a nice place.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you can get the comp plan right there on the website, guys.
Darn.
How many pages is it?
The comp plan, it's pretty significant, probably 100.
90, wow. It's pretty significant.
Basically, if you go through the comp plan, it says we need more housing.
Yeah.
At the time, that was like right before Stellar. It was sort of the #1 challenge of both our schools and
Right, because we were really looking forward to the other PUD that Tom Bestie was doing.
Affordable housing.
You should have it.
That's-
And It said more diverse offering of housing.
Well, affordable housing is a problem to get affordable housing. I mean, especially now when we're.
You're not gonna get affordable housing by just building another house.
No,
What it's probably going to include would be you members of the Plan Commission and Town Council taking a parcel of property and putting the stipulations in that people would have to own the property. Local resident, more than 5 years or more than 10 years, you could put all these stipulations in it, and then you can set your price so that those people can buy the housing.
Assuming you have a
But if you leave
developer.
it out for market price, never in Culver will there be anything affordable.
right. So what you're talking about, probably not gonna happen either. Sounds good on paper, it sounds good, talk about it, but actually getting something that's done. I know Kevin made a real good stab at it over there.
Yeah.
And.
Oh, I think he's done a tremendous job on getting us there. And so, I know that it can be done, and
Oh, yeah.
that's something that probably the Plan Commission could be
Take a swing at it.
take the
We-
lead in the
We
process.
spent a lot of time swinging at it, didn't we, Kevin?
It's,
And that's where we got, where we're at
it's a
now.
tough nut.
Yeah.
I really think that's.
Doesn't mean we should give up, but it's a tough
Will be
nut.
turnover housing.
Oh,
So I think it might help alleviate a few houses in town being bought that are, single dwelling. Or it's just gonna get more of the same. I don't know.
I see more, and just while we're talking, I see more and more infill housing being purchased, torn down and rebuilt.
yeah.
And
we've
so,
had the riggings, we've had the Eastview, we've got Carter, we've got Cove. All these are condos, and some are rented, some are owned, and it had no influence whatsoever as far as stopping from people buying, rebuilding. And I'm not.
no, it's just,
I'm saying, I mean,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, and logically, it would make sense. But when you're talking about the town of Culver, got too many outside, trying to say if they're being recorded, people buying his property, and it's because of the value. And so you're not gonna see people buying value houses and property and even come close to the affordable housing issue. Do I have anything else for our building commissioner?
It's in Karen's office. I do not have access to her office. Otherwise, they don't give me a hole punch. I haven't, got to that level.
I want to see if you're going to stick it out or not.
It's in the clerk's office and I don't have a key to that, so,
Three hole punches are valuable.
yeah, right?
Pick it up.
There's a little pocket folder on the side. You can shove it in there when you're done.
Yeah. All right, citizen input while they're signing, I believe Mr. Eastday has
Yes,
something.
you said we could do this in
Yes.
this, on that portion. Basically, I'm coming in with a preliminary subdivision application for a property on South Shore Drive. And I enjoyed your comments earlier about South Shore and East Shore and West Shore never matching, but this is just on South Shore Drive. It does not have an assigned address, but it's across the street from 124 South Shore Drive. Currently, there's a 3-lot subdivision in there called Shelby's Subdivision. And we would like to replat 2 of those lots into 3 lots. And the ordinance, as I read it, says when you want to go more than 3, you better do it as a major subdivision. So I come in with a preliminary tonight, and then we will advertise it, have a public hearing at the next meeting if you write off on it. And then we will have the formal action at the next.
Jim, how many lots was that parcel street lot?
The present Shelby subdivision has 3 lots.
Okay,
We are replatting 2 of those lots into 3.
Will they all be buildable?
Yes. I went through that with Chuck and they're all
Yes.
good. There's quite a few
Is
acres.
it
in there.
14 acres?
Yeah, it's 14 acres
14
total.
acres, right.
Yeah.
You said this is South Shore?
Yes. Yeah, this is, if you know where the old Panos property was, what I call the hotel. It's not, I shouldn't say that online, but it's right across the street from there.
And, you know, and the S curves, and when you go back on South Shore, it's right
Okay.
there. Is that big
It's
field?
on the corner there of Old
Yeah.
17 and
Mhm.
South Shore.
Right.
So yeah, we've looked at it.
Is that the one we call the Yellow House?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
it's now beautiful. They did a nice job of repainting it, I think.
Made sure that we got the right frontage, square footage for the lots and all of that, so I think we'll be good on it.
What do we need to now as far as discuss what you're?
Your function tonight is to preliminarily approve or deny the preliminary application, and then I'll bring it back to the next meeting with a final application.
Okay. And we have a site plan and all these are passed, so it matters.
I don't think we have any.
Sure, you looked at it, I mean, I know.
are the three lots roughly same size?
No.
No.
they're not.
Okay.
Here they are.
Okay,
We got one at 4.54, one at 1.19, one at 5.42.
okay.
They sure all of those like that? Both of them.
You see that.
Mhm.
Just geared up for a CPA.
Anybody else want to see it?
I am.
So to say, I think there's copies in the boxes. You just gotta pick them up.
You're taking the four, making into one or three.
No, taking 2 and making it into 3.
2 will be 3.
What do you want me to look at?
Because you're refining the whole thing.
No, just 2 lots.
Still only three.
Still only 3 lots. I'm not surprised where it's major.
It's gonna be 4 total now.
Correct, because you're taking those 3 off, so that, yeah, that's what,
But you're.
So there will be 4 buildable lots.
But it
total,
was
so this is all
originally, it was originally 2 lots.
2, and now there will be,
There'd be 3, but it affects both of them to do the 3.
yes. So you're gonna take the 3 that will be basically new, plus the remainder of,
Of the one that you took part of up.
correct, and that's why we
So
went,
all of them have been subdivided. As far as 2 lots, 1 lot had, both lots have been subdivided.
That's great.
that's why we were
So you
going
got
that way.
part of one, part of the other combined to make one.
That's why we're,
Two.
why we're doing that.
Okay. I just want to clarify.
I'm confused.
Seemed like a small technical issue to me.
So do we need a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision application? Or is that what we're looking for?
We're
Yes,
just
that's what we're
approving the
looking for.
application, which,
Right, which is basically letting him come back.
right,
Saying you've got all the information you need
we've got the information we need
to make a decision next month.
next
Okay.
month.
So basically you want a motion then? Or what?
I would like to have any kind of discussion as
Okay.
far as between.
Thank
anybody
God.
has any concerns for this? Anytime there's a combination or dividing, sometimes issues that brings up to 1 line and understall. And I see nothing as far as myself. I'll speak out now what anybody else is thinking, because I think from what looks of it, it's an improvement.
I don't know, that sliver kind of concerns me, but I don't know what else you're gonna do with it.
What concerns you?
Sliver. Yeah. It's buildable, but that's just a very oddly shaped thing. I understand to try to get the shape right, but.
Right, but we're only gonna have 3 lots. Okay. So we have 4 when we're done.
Well, we're gonna-
And the one in the middle, that was the little. V?
Yes,
Yes,
Would be-
but that's over an acre.
Yeah, it's 1.9.
you know, would I, if I were drawing it, would I draw it differently? Probably would, but it meets our criteria. And therefore, if it does, I can't say no. And, you know, because it meets what we've set out.
So, how wide is it side to side in the front?
100 feet on the one side and nothing more.
It has the proper frontage.
Guess he doesn't want to mow
Yeah.
any more than he has to,
Right.
take care of it.
I mean, is that gonna be created where it's gonna be variances for any of the side lots to be met?
That's not for us.
No, I'm just saying as far as buildable, what we consider.
I suppose it would depend on what
area.
No, it's a
What you decided
buildable,
there.
it's a buildable lot and it meets our criteria in our ordinance.
Right.
So how they build or what they build is not for us to
It's
be.
just
looking
that,
at.
yeah, that's the BZA issue.
But I mean, if
Maybe-
you're by.
maybe-
Maybe not.
Correct.
Sort of by acreage, but I mean, if you're 100 feet wide at the frontage, but you're not gonna be able to house at the frontage. And if you're creating a lot that's gonna create a variance with whatever you build,
If the smallest lot is an acre there, how would you end up with a variance on setbacks?
it's fine.
Side yard front, you'd have to have a 25-foot front setback from the road and 10 from each side.
The,
Right, but if
But where,
it's an
where does that,
acre,
what you're saying is where does that start? Where, how far back could you go
If
where
you're
that
going
would,
the
where you
25
would have to
buildable
do?
part,
actually,
and I know we're not in here to discuss as far as what the setbacks are gonna be, because we're not even discussing a house.
but
that's
if you
being
notice,
built.
the surveyor
bring it up.
drew the setbacks on.
But I
those
just
various
don't,
lots.
I don't wanna make sure we're not
Okay, so-
actually allowing a lot to be
Those are
built.
the setbacks right
Yes.
here.
He
Oh,
drew,
okay,
he
okay.
drew those.
Those are your setbacks.
All right.
So you can get back to pretty far.
Yeah,
Did Bernie do
makes
that?
me feel a lot better about it.
Right.
I think this one.
You see the setbacks there, Joel?
I feel a lot better.
No.
But I agree with that, what you're asking for, because still can
Yes.
create something, that's gonna create a variance for a minute.
Right, yeah, we don't want to approve something that's gonna have to have a variance and build
If
on.
it's built boundaries, even to get that, whatever.
But I don't know, just to say it out loud, I don't know that you have a choice if it meets the ordinance. You don't have a choice whether you think it's buildable or not.
But you could put a lawful residence there.
You could put-
Side, so sure.
Whatever needed to be, so you're
You
not,
could build a triangle building if you
Right.
wanted to, as long as it meets the setbacks.
right,
So that's not really our concern.
no.
Right, I got you.
A motion that we go ahead and approve the preliminary as is shown to us.
Second.
Good, you got in there, didn't you?
You've been trying.
I let you get your name in the minutes there.
And I
know you're trying to get on the board here, aren't you?
Yeah. We got a motion and a second. And we're gonna do roll call as far as Bobby Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Don Fox.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Boots and Mr. Bell.
Yes.
And Chair votes yes.
I'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Okay.
I need a local number on this.
I will send you one.
We're working on a new program.
Thank you, appreciate it.
let's say,
It's on the Jenny Monroe program.
Okay, I'll just contact you then. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We got any more citizen input?
Any online?
Anybody online?
Kevin's here for a reason.
No one's unmuting, so.
Audience, Kevin?
no,
Just a reminder about my fence issue that hasn't been solved yet, so I don't know where you want to go with it, but I want to keep it on the agenda that it
Well,
hasn't been fixed.
let's update what we've done. And I know that we were gonna look and see if letters have been made sure they were sent out and had not been replied to,
correct.
correct, still yet.
Yeah, it's just, do you want to hold the current homeowner responsible for the previous homeowner?
Mhm.
This is my suggestion. I think we can hold the one that owns it now, the present owner, not with fines or anything like that, but we could still make it conforming. Because they've got a non-conforming fence on the lot that was not new. But I think still the previous owner should be posting fines, whatever, a legal fine that building commissioner issues or not.
I think you're gonna have trouble with that simply, we'll check with an attorney, our attorney, but, I think you'll have trouble with that because he doesn't own it.
No, he doesn't own it, but he did it. And did he have a permit for the fence?
Shame on the town for not holding him accountable is the thing. I don't think you can,
Well, if we've had letters sent for the last year and a half, 2 years, and no response, and we have record of those letters going out from our town attorney, you can still, because it was at the time that he did own it. And I do not see a legal argument from anybody else that could say, we could probably ask the attorney at this time whether we could be,
I can't afford him.
I can't. What? I mean.
usually though, when you send out the letter, you describe the potential fee and you tell them how many days they have. And if there was no follow-up with sending a fee, then he can come back at you and say, well, you waited a year, I'm long gone, or whatever the case is. I don't think there's a point in doing that.
I mean, what,
And we'd have to track down the person. Is it worth $100 or?
Due to our process, what's happened is Kevin still got a fence on his property that's non-conforming.
it's not on his property. It joins
It's
his
not on
property.
his property, but it's next to his property.
Okay, but what is the goal?
The goal is to have the fence conforming.
Okay, that's it. So all of this other, going out and chasing rabbits and rainbows. And I don't think that now is the time to do it. We have what we have right now. Move forward with that and get it done. Would you?
I agree 100%, but I do not want to set any kind of precedence that we don't do anything, because we have not done anything. I know the process that we've tried did not work. And so now we need to look at why it didn't work. What can we do to change it?
I think you're looking at two different things. The goal is to get the fence removed and make it conforming. That's our goal.
That's been the goal for how long, Joe?
I don't know. Talk to Jonathan. He was in charge of all of that.
Exactly, but.
Okay, but
I'm not blaming.
okay, but
I'm not
he's
blaming
he's
thing. I'm
okay,
saying
but
our
here's
attorney.
okay. Our attorney has not been involved with it up until this point. I can tell you that. He
Our
doesn't.
attorney hasn't been involved with it prior to any letters being sent other than from Jonathan?
No.
Is that what you're telling me?
Typically, the attorney doesn't draft those letters. It
Yeah.
is on our desk.
Yes.
Anything that's a nuisance or conforming or
That's handled through this office.
now. On occasion, we've asked the attorney to draft a letter if we're gonna try to move a blighted property into the court system, and go through the unsafe buildings committee, then we get him involved. But we don't typically get him involved we can get him involved.
But I was under understanding that he had sent out letters, our attorney had sent out letters prior to the sale to the new owner.
We
If
can,
that's the case, that he has not, then you're 100% right. We don't have anything.
If Jonathan had sent one though that said you can be fined and we can fine you after this amount of time if you haven't fixed it, he could have followed up with that. And then if they don't pay the fine, you can put a lien on the property. Well, at this point, you'd be
Right.
putting a lien on the new homeowner.
Right. And I don't want to do that,
And
but I still think
it's
that the
basically
fence
for
should be
$100.
conforming, and I don't think we ought to wait until
We could do that
the
letter.
due process time runs out. I mean, statute of limitations where you make somebody make something conforming. We don't have that.
Yeah, there's probably several properties like that, but
Right.
we can try to do that.
One thing to remember about, you said time running out and whatever. A violation is a violation until it's corrected.
Right.
There's no time limit on it.
Right.
It's a violation is a violation until it's corrected.
And I realize that. But this person that we're trying to get to fix it did not violate.
What he owns is in
But
violation.
he owns it in violation. He bought it that way. But
Can we give them a,
you've got several issues like that.
It's on the buyer, isn't it?
Okay, Bobby's got something to say here.
are we able to give them a time frame to make it compliant? If they don't, then just have the town remove the fence for them and then bill them for that?
We should be able to. That is correct. We'll confirm that with our town attorney before we have that letter sent out, okay?
I don't know if we can remove the fence or if we can make it conform. Because technically it's their property. And usually when we do a letter and we give them so much time to fix something, if they don't, we can go on the property and do it. And then we charge them for the labor or, equipment, et cetera. But we can't just take it. Unless it's trash, in which case we remove the trash and then we charge them for removal of the trash.
We may have to take it before a judge for him to tell us that we can go on and do it or order him to have it done.
Mr. Cooper, are you asking that we have a time trial, like you're saying, you give them 30 days, 60 days to make it conforming?
That seems to be the most reasonable thing to me at this point, instead of, going back in time and figuring out who to point fingers at, who to fine, whatnot. We start from today. Hey, you've got 30 days to make this right. If we don't, if you don't, we're going to make it right for you.
I'm perfectly fine with that, and 30 days is more than enough. They've swapped the fence panels once already, so taking the fence panels down, they take 3 panels down and pull 3 posts, and it's conforming. So it's not a hardship to change it.
And of course, I guess the letter would be nice explaining why it's not conforming.
Or you would naturally.
You have to cite the ordinance.
But I don't want them to follow it.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah, you have to cite the ordinance and the parcel number and.
Which I had written that letter that kind of picked out the pieces in the ordinance that were in violation, and Chuck has a copy of that, so that you've got a base. If you don't like mine, you've got a base to change. Or ask me and I'll send it to you again.
You can send it to
I
me.
mean, would we like to say 45 days, and by the time we get a response, it'll be before?
I say 30 days.
Okay.
I mean, this is,
Okay.
It's
I mean,
not,
as
it's
far
not a
as
hard
the
thing.
position, this battle has been going on for almost 2 years.
Okay.
I'd like to see this.
And they can come into the BZA or something, they still have that option, but it needs to be pushed forward.
Right, they can come forward actually for a variance even for that if they choose to do so.
And I've waited this long, I'm not gonna jump up and down if they come in and ask you for an extension, but I'd rather make it shorter and make them ask for the extension.
Mhm.
I'll
Some
have
kind of
to,
push forward, some kind of motivation.
Do,
Yeah.
do you have any idea whether they were aware of the problem?
I do not.
do we have a policy though? I mean, like, there's a policy for when there's a grass nuisance or a trash nuisance or, if it's,
Yeah.
I'm just asking, when you send a letter, do you have a written policy for how many days? Like the grass nuisance letter, I have to give them so many days because it's in our policy that way. There's a certain fee. I can't just make up a fee and they get so much time to fix it and then it goes to the next step. But if you don't have a written policy for it, then
Can't create it in the moment.
Right.
Right.
but, I mean,
I
I'll
don't
have
know,
to
maybe
deal
there
with
is
that.
one.
Certainly, I don't know, but I know that under the building commissioner's authority to induce fines.
Yeah,
he can- he
that's
can
what I'm
actually give
asking is
8 times.
what does that say? Cause
It
it
doesn't
might,
say that he's limited to give only 30 days.
30 days might not be, if it says 45, we have to do
Right.
45,
I
whatever
think
that.
it's at the building
Yeah,
commissioner's
I need to see that
discretion
before.
Because some things take longer to fix than other things. So I think it's under this that the building commissioner's always had discretion. If you can do it in a week, or you give him 3 weeks or 30 days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just want to read that
Right.
before we go sending a letter with
Yeah.
town letterhead on it.
I don't
Because
think that's fine.
all of
I
ours
just want
are,
to see it move forward.
Kevin, I'm not seeing that. If you,
I'll send
Want
it.
to go ahead and send
was
it.
Like back in December, so I'll send it to both.
if you send it to both of us, please.
But I just strongly feel like we need to have this resolved. I mean,
I appreciate it.
I honestly feel like we dropped the ball on this right here. And I apologize, but I do want to correct it. Any more citizen input? Then let me got you take care of.
I
hold on,
just
let me
have a
look in the
question.
chat.
Yeah.
And this is just to, because of all the people that were upset at the last meeting, you've got a policy that any application has to be in before the preceding meeting.
Yes,
So-
he knows the deadline. There's gonna be another TRC meeting. We're gonna follow the same process.
Because I thought I understood it was coming up at the next meeting, and that's not going to be enough time to do that. So I wanted to make sure.
He's got the
Because you got some
deadlines.
people that are reading the ordinance apparently.
Are they still going with the PUD?
Yes.
Yes.
But the presentation in the latest zoning says it has to be in before the previous meeting.
The application is due next Wednesday. The following, the 30th, the publication has to be out 10 days before. The neighbors have to be informed. It has to be postmarked 10 days before. He doesn't know, but I have the deadlines practically memorized.
Actually looking at
Just covering your bases.
the pilot and the citizen and.
Well,
No.
you guys, by your own ordinance, it has to be in the citizen, so you have to get it to the citizen the week before.
Okay.
Before it publishes, and it has to be
I know
published
we
at
talked
least
about
10
that. I didn't
days.
know What you came up with as far as on that.
No, our ordinance only says to go in the citizen. What I would like to look at going forward is making an amendment to that so that it can go in the citizen and or the pilot.
And or.
Yes.
I've asked Jamie Fleury to let me know how many Culver residents subscribe to both. Because if we find out there's, hardly anyone subscribes to the pilot, we'll want to stick with the citizen.
Right.
Right.
I asked her that once, and honest to God, we would all fit in the room comfortably.
Yeah.
They get the pilot,
And the citizen,
I get the citizen.
yeah, and the pilot,
I'm pilot.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's my concern. If the majority are subscribed to the citizen and not the pilot, then
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very few.
Another way to make a public announcement?
And now we don't get the penny saver.
if you change the ordinance, but generally it has to go in a newspaper, and
Yeah,
we
I
also put it
think
on
that's state.
TGL and the bulletin board out here,
But yeah.
The state ordinance requires that
a newspaper.
a newspaper that's published.
Yeah. And I'm sure under the citizen, it's because it's about Culver. so
Yeah,
I didn't know if the Marshall County, so the pilot's on it. I would
Yeah.
think that.
If there's only that many taking the pilot, you're probably right.
It's very few.
It would only allow us to publish. That would only would not be getting the information out.
Most people think that the duplicate of anything about Culver anyway, of course, the papers. All right, we'll move on then. No more citizen input.
I've said enough.
You got more questions? Last chance. All right, commission members' concerns and input.
I have a couple questions in regards to the last meeting that I just want clarification on. So the planned unit development,
obviously we were gonna go from a C2 to a PUD.
Right.
And then the need for the green space was 10%.
Right.
My question is this. Do we have the ability when we make our new plan, can we change the percentage? Or is that already determined, the 10%?
It's determined as a minimum. But I mean, they can put more.
Right.
They wish.
It's
But you're
interesting.
saying that you're wanting to raise that 10%
Yeah.
to a 20%, whatever you want.
Right, I was just wondering, do we have the ability? to
We
do that
have
when
the-
we reach
Change in the zoning ordinance.
We would have to change in the ordinance. We would discuss the change. We would approve or disapprove. If we approved it, then we would send that recommendation to the change of that ordinance to town council. And the town council would review it, hear it, and they would either go ahead with it, approve it, or else they can have the option to send it back to us. Because I mean, you might say 20%, they say, no, we need 25, just as an example. And you have to come back to us, and then we have to, again, review that 25%.
And you have a
change it.
public hearing it
And have
for
a
both
public
of
hearing
those.
each time. We did that.
And you do 3 reads of that ordinance, so the council would say they accept it the first time. The second time would be the following meeting. And if one person votes no on the first reading, you cannot suspend the rules and approve all 3 readings that night. You have to wait till the next meeting.
We don't have the 3 readings.
Right.
We usually always do the second read at the next meeting, though. We usually only do 1 read, and then if it's all 5 vote yes, we do second and third reading at the second meeting.
On a change like that, it's also a public hearing, isn't it?
Yes, on the first read, yeah. Before the first read, you do open a public hearing and close it.
We had a public hearing when we do it before we can approve it. I know it used to be for amendments, new ordinances would have to be a public hearing. I was thinking amendments, we didn't actually have to go through the floor, but do now. I'm talking 20 years ago, so I mean, I'm trying to keep up here. Anything else other than that?
No, that was the one that I really kind of wanted to just have a better understanding of how that works.
Anytime any changes, that's okay. Chester, you got anything?
No.
Nothing.
Heather?
Oh, no.
You're good.
What am I doing?
Good.
Man, I've been going through every name in the, well, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, when they do, like, as they try to include the house or the parking in the front, which it would be that way for business or whatever. Is that a standard thing where you do include neighboring street park, available parking?
No, I mean, you're talking about residential. In our ordinance, you have to have 2 parking spaces per residential unit. So,
But that's on their property.
yes,
That's,
so you don't count the streets. But a PUD is different than your regular, because it has its own rules within, you vote on the whole process. And if they say, we'll have 4 parking spaces on site and the rest of them will be off site, if you approve the PUD, then that's what you're approving. So that's where the difference comes in.
I was just looking it up, and I think we have the violation procedure for breaking enforcement of things on 220. So I think that has the wording for the
What,
letters.
what page?
Offense. Oh, 220?
220, okay.
Chapter 12.
Chapter 12.
And that was pretty much it. Like, I was curious about the parking and everything from the last fun time.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we have dealt with, both the property out here on 17, and I think it's time we look at his property on Highway 10. I mean, it's just a total eyesore. There's vehicles out there without any wheels on them. There's
It'd be
appliances.
great if you guys would send a letter to the county to that effect, because we no longer have control of the 2-mile zone for unsafe buildings.
Okay.
So Boatsma's on Jefferson and on 10, we can't, we have to go through the county.
Because I thought before we were trying to,
We did.
The county has decided they want to do that.
Can I go to commissioners and
Yeah.
I'll talk to Kevin about it.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
And it's just, I drive by there and just shake my head.
Well-
Something's gotta be done.
On Thursday, just kind of throwing this out, we're gonna be talking about the general area on State Road 10. So,
Yeah, it's
General
Gonna be
area
addressed.
As far as 10 and 17.
no. Shemaleski's.
talking about next
Oh,
door.
yeah, you're talking about, 10 and 17.
Yeah.
So that's the only section that's 10 and 17.
Right.
But, okay, so it has to go through the county, all right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that. I'll talk to Kevin this week about that.
Mr. Fox,
Give me a second to finish this last sentence.
I'm glad to know your name.
Okay.
You're doing what you do best.
Oh,
God, I
now.
hope not.
Yeah. I said, oh, now, whoa.
Feel free to use my name as an adjacent property owner when you talk to Kevin.
Yeah, I want to talk about the hearing. I guess a number of things. I would have been embarrassed for my students to see how some of our residents conducted themselves at that hearing. It was not the Culver that I think we know and love. I would just say it, there were some legitimate concerns, and then there was some, I thought, angry mob-like behavior. There were several people, I can't remember if it was you or Bobby that asked for a show of hands, and there were several hands that went up in terms of favor.
I'm too afraid to speak.
So
Yeah, there was, I saw about 8 or 9 of them out
I've
there.
had a conversation with one of the prospective buyers, who said, I was not only intimidated, I was followed to my car by one of the opponents.
You're kidding me.
No.
But
And I think that we as a body, one, cannot abide by that. Two, I would like to see going forward at the next hearing, we let the people who favor the project speak first. And frankly, too, that we would, I think, have anybody who cannot conduct themselves in a civil manner leave the hearing.
I apologize for that
And-
because I was at the point. Maybe I should have went on. And I felt caught in the middle. And Chuck, I mean, no disrespect, but like the one person that, you told him, I would rather you address me to keep you from being a target. You know what I'm saying? I think I can handle it better if it was addressed to me, directed to him, and have him stop or removed. He'd have to leave. I just felt like you were caught by a citizen that is referring to you trying to make up rules to whatever need to be. It shouldn't even been discussed, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? He was either allowed to talk or he wasn't allowed to talk. And when he came back and even the lawyer argued with this is not you, this is me. When that lawyer come back talking, then they come and said, well, I can speak because you're letting him speak. The contractor was speaking. And I should have stopped him at that moment myself, because that contractor had every right in the world to come speak. They already had their time. And he still had the time to discuss that with us.
Well,
after the hearing.
and you guys were talking among yourselves after you closed the hearing. You're allowed to ask any questions and talk to that developer all you want. You can talk to
Exactly.
each other.
And that's my whole
Him
point.
objecting was
Him
ridiculous.
objecting, I should have stopped it right there.
It's not a
And I learned
court.
that myself, even at that meeting.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
You're
I think that
100% right.
it is, because, I mean, to your point, I mean, Chuck is a public servant, and
He is.
if somebody's gonna be the heavy, it probably ought to be Barry.
And I mean, no disrespect
No,
at all. I think.
I'm gonna go back and listen to what I said or did, just so I.
No, it's
I
just.
never said anything wrong.
It wasn't inappropriate.
No, I
It's like,
want to remind
it's
myself,
like-
I want to hear it.
Who
Yeah,
needs to
I
be
just
the
don't want you
enforcer and
thinking
say,
that I'm saying you did anything
your
wrong.
time's up or you're out of,
Would
you're
rather
out of
address
line.
me.
So, but that was just mind boggling
Yeah.
to me.
But Don, you weren't here when we did the sign ordinances.
No, I just heard comments the last.
Kevin would remember that. He's probably the only one that was here. other than
Windmills?
Myself, but then, no, Chester. You were on, we did the sign ordinance, right?
No, I believe so.
But I mean, this was not a month. Well, that sign ordinance was a month. I mean, I actually was afraid to walk out of here until they cleared.
Hmm.
I mean, I felt, and I know that the council had pretty good.
This one
attendance
was
at that
pretty
time, too.
strong, though, vibe in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When someone comes in and tries to stop a meeting and change the venue, and people were a little too strong on commenting directly to you after the public hearing, like,
Oh, yeah.
you're doing the right thing, or you're like, none of that influence should be in the room. You need to
No.
control the room in that situation and tell people the public hearing's done. We don't appreciate that kind of commentary or whatever.
In my defense, I was not the president at that time, so.
I mean, I do think that we might want to consider, because I imagine we will have a crowd again, moving the
Yes.
public hearing to Beach Lodge
Well,
in advance to
Yeah,
comply
it-
with all legal notices.
yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And also, could we have a sign-up sheet for speakers and just go by that instead of
Yes.
having it willy-nilly people?
Well, I was gonna do that, but I know
Yes,
we
you
had to-
can.
we used to do that. But I know, and we used to not have the sign-up list for everybody, the attendance, but I think we're wanting that now. Because I only have a sign-up list. for-
Whenever there's a public hearing, you need to be able to prove you had the public hearing, so a sign-in sheet is typically what we do.
I think-
Now, you can tell people that if you intend to speak, you need to sign this sheet of paper as well.
And I started to do that, but since everybody had to sign, I didn't. But I would have to have a sign-in sheet and a sign to speak sheet. Is what I actually need.
Didn't we have that one time on council? We actually had them mark beside when they signed in, like if they wanted to speak.
I went to the
So
meeting
it
one time
doesn't-
and did. I didn't sign, so I didn't speak, but I had a lot to say, but I
And
didn't.
if you want to make something easier, the sign-up sheet to speak, they can put their address.
It would be a whole lot easier, yes.
So,
Just to,
Right.
yeah,
I'm like,
yes.
where are you?
because Don, you bring up a good point, you know, Chuck's the or the public servant. We should, one of us should probably be in charge of keeping the time. And
Right.
then saying, okay, you're 4 minutes, now Bill Jones is next on the list, now Bill Jones is speaking. So we don't even, we shouldn't be putting that on you. You know, I mean,
Because people
I-
gotta come to you for building permits
yeah.
and stuff.
I feel like Chuck is actually the public servant. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He is the one addressing homeowners. He's the one addressing contractors. He's talking to neighbors. And if we put him under the gun here, then where's it gonna be out there?
Well,
And I know
just,
you can handle yourself. I don't mean nothing.
yeah, just so you know, if I see something that needs to be done, I'll do it.
right.
And I didn't see anybody else controlling time or anything, so I just took it on myself to do it.
Hey, I never.
But I will encourage someone else to do it next time.
Just now, I mean,
I was gonna address it, but I didn't wanna make it a
We
three-way.
just need to sort it out before the
Yeah.
next public hearing.
Yeah.
So who's doing what? You know, the other thing, I will just say it. I took offense for myself as well as the dozens and dozens of other people I know who, bought a property that they occasionally visited here and ended up moving here and loving it. So we bought our property in 2005. It took us till 2013 till we became permanent residents. But I could go down the list of people who are serving Crossroads Culver. I would probably have some council members who fall into that category as well. The woman that I
Me
talked,
being one of them.
yeah, the true, you.
I was
the woman-
part-time
the woman
resident.
I talked to who was followed to her car. She's a lifelong Marshall County resident. So I just really don't appreciate gratuitous comments about people that are gonna flip houses, and not do anything for the town when you don't know who's gonna buy those townhouses. I know at least one lifelong,
Yeah,
resident who is ready to put a down payment on it as soon as it's approved.
and there's one that wants to come from Plymouth to that location and be here full-time
Yeah.
retired.
So,
And they need an ADA compliant.
You're actually looking in the future and
well,
telling these people.
and the
that
other thing
this
is
what
like,
they are.
what's it matter? It increases the assessed value for, for the town and the county. So.
We have,
no,
we have two separate problems. That you're right. That's one problem. The other one is, how do you get people here and jobs here?
Right,
Right.
and
And that's two different problems.
right, and that's, and there's all kinds of groups, including Crossroads Culver, looking at that. As well as develop Culver, as well as, when we get into the
But-
comprehensive plan, but we make that.
A lot of the comments and the questions that the people had nothing actually to do with the planning commission. It should have been presented to the town council. We couldn't even address those issues. All we have is our ordinances
Right,
as far as the PUD
Right.
and what they're planning to fit, just like we talked about the green space stuff,
right,
all that. That's the only thing we can look at. And it fits the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
Anything other than that, as far as, I know we look at the parking and we saw the parking, the traffic control. The traffic control really is not our issue either. We don't pay the cops. We don't hire detectives to see what's going on out on the streets, but town council is in control of that as far as doing that. So a lot of this is being brought to us, and it was the same way with the sign ordinance changes and things like that. And people do. We got a public hearing, they're gonna address everything that they can. And it's up to all of us, not just me, to try and catch these
Agreed.
things. That-
I think it would also be, and sorry to interrupt because I'm not a plan commission member, but it would also be a good idea to educate the public on the process, because this PUD came to advertised technical review committee meetings that anyone could have attended. They were addressing issues like drainage and stormwater and easements and
And I did
parking and
reiterate that.
and they knew that we were putting in a trail on a one-way street and that Washington was going to become one-way. That was part of their planning on that site. They knew that you've got the condos down here, you've got condos up by the movie theater. So to them, that was not unusual housing in the neighborhood. You had council members meet with them who liked this idea of residential versus commercial. It's not like this hadn't had some critical thinking going into it and some planning that was public. And I think it's important the public know that's the process, because there are opportunities to come in and speak. There's opportunities to get the understanding of why would the town manager, the street utility manager, the building commissioner, and 2 plan commission members approve and send this on to plan commission. That had already gone into this, but no one heard about that. And that bothered me as someone who was involved in several of these meetings ahead of the public hearing, knowing full well there was support for the project, and none of that was explained to the public. And I think they need to know the process on some level at the very least.
yeah, I think that, not to bring up the trail, but, people need to make some effort to inform themselves.
Yeah.
I went back and searched, and first mention of this project was in the November minutes when somebody asked, hey, Chuck, what's going on 415? You said, oh, well, I think it's gonna be a PUD and there's gonna be townhouses there. So it wasn't a mystery several months ago as to what was gonna happen with that property.
It wasn't a Dollar General switcheroo.
No, it was not. So, I take pride in the minutes. I don't imagine a lot of people read them, but I'm just saying, it's on the public record, right? So figure out what's going on if you want to be a, engaged citizen.
Or even showing up at these meetings and expressing, hey, when you do your comprehensive plan, you
Right.
should consider looking at
Comprehensive plan, it's online.
for PUD
Yeah.
or whatever. I agree with you when it comes to making a decision. I was talking to Chuck before, but it's like, I feel like I can only go off of what's in here.
You're confined.
I'm not an elected official.
Right.
No,
It meets the criteria or it doesn't meet the criteria.
but it's gonna either meet to satisfy with what you can see, And you, if that satisfies you and you're willing to move it as one person.
Yeah.
You can move that forward. If everybody or the majority feels the same way, you're still not writing in stone.
No,
That's what,
Because
we
it's-
all gotta realize that we're not committing to perjury here or anything like that, you know, we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing. And we're limited to what we can do, even for what a lot of the objections that was coming from the audience. We had nothing to do with that. We couldn't even say yes or no. And that's the sad part. But you can't spend all night in a public hearing telling them that we can't do anything about this, we're going there, you know, what are you here for then? Creates another question and another problem.
But, and Bobby's online if he has anything.
Yeah, Bobby, you have anything?
I have nothing, no.
All right, I got one more thing that I wanted to discuss as far as concerned. I know we've talked about changing ordinances, so I mean, I'll bring this up. One of the things that we're gonna be running into a whole lot, and our building commissioner probably tell you the same thing as far as everybody sees, houses being bought, property being bought, and it's torn down, new houses being put in, but we've got a 25-foot setback in our ordinances for R1 and R2. And it has always been 10 feet for years. And it was changed not due to our recommendation, but it was, sort of was too, because it wasn't caught that a change had been made in the rewriting of the ordinances. And like I said before, whether it was done by Marshall County or whether Johnson and Chuck, it's not a blame thing. It's just somewhere or another, something got twisted and rewritten, and I fully think it was done when Marshall County was putting it online. And I don't have proof that I'm trying to blame, it's just, I think that's probably where it came from. But bottom line is, I feel strongly that a 25-foot setback in the backyard is not even legitimate ordinance guideline for R1 and R2 in town, period.
I agree.
I mean, we're looking at 100-foot lots and you're taking 25 off the front, 25 off the back. So you're leaving a 50-foot parcel, and now you're taking it and taking 10 feet off each side, and you're really confining the buildable part of that lot. And we have got so many smaller lots that are a lot of record that can't even meet that without putting a horse trough out there.
Built on the same footprint, have to build on the same footprint.
Yeah,
No choice.
and that's the whole problem right now. Even with that, you're almost requiring it to be built on the same footprint, and we've got problems with that.
That's why I haven't moved my garage. That's why I haven't torn down my garage.
So it sounds like you might want to make that change right away versus waiting till we wade through the entire ordinance.
I know it's been discussed for both ways, but I think that's one that we should discuss now with everybody, what we can actually,
Thank you.
we can say that we went there, but we want a public hearing.
Yeah, I
Correct.
think you could schedule that
We
though
can
at your
actually
next
schedule our
meeting.
next meeting, if it's so desired by the members here.
So for me to understand what you're saying 25-foot setback for the front, that's good,
Yeah,
but you can't have 25-foot in the back.
no, it should be
Not
10.
for R1
And we're
R2.
we're changing it back to what it was,
Was.
but it still has to be changed and sent
Right.
to the town council. Town council would approve it or deny whatever, send back, that's their option. And that's one thing I want to do. And I still would like to get some kind of definition on our line of sight.
Yeah.
The process, I know people question even where you try to come from, whatever. I understand it completely. But is there anything in there that gives us enough black and white
We're
definition?
not to have three, oh no, the minus, I was thinking the elevation ones.
And I think that's another thing that we gotta change too, right? Is have we find the elevation, the established grade?
It'll be fun.
Because right now we've got two different definitions,
Mhm.
procedure.
Three.
It's just, they're not different definitions.
Procedure,
Yeah,
Three
ways of
ways
establishing it.
Three ways
three
of
ways
saying
of
it.
procedure.
Was a little confusing from that one case.
And, I'd say Mr. DeWitt would probably be the one as far to actually give the best procedures, because he's had the options all three, but you've been doing it now for 5 years, correct?
Mhm. To be honest with you, the crisscross and the whatever, I go normally by highest elevation, lowest elevation, find the middle, and that's where the established grade goes.
Yeah.
That's what I think is the most accurate in what we're doing.
I agree with it in town, because it's pretty plain and simple. I mean, on that part, you're going from front to back, whatever you want to do. But I know on some properties, you got this and this,
Right.
and the four corners actually put you to a pinpoint, and then you come back where we measure for grade, you would establish that center point is 3 inches taller than the front.
But
then
there's at
37 feet
least-
would be measured.
There's at least two of those ways, though, that you can't do with the building being there.
Exactly.
And if you take the building down, now you don't have an
But
established
you're not
grade.
supposed to tear it down until you get.
Till you have
grade
the
prior.
established grade. So yes, that needs to be.
Yeah.
It needs to be changed.
I mean, the crisscross, even if you only do the two corners, if you had the pegs, because you're still, when it's gonna establish two ways to look at the elevation.
Right.
And if it's only needs one, I mean, it's same up here, it's same down here, then
Right.
you're 100% right.
And I think somewhere included was an absolute maximum, like, let's say, the Spanish building. If you average that property, what you could have a
I never did look that up either, because remember, we were looking at that one day, it was 20 feet, and we were talking about even reducing that to 15, even though it probably wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
But I know it's a 20-foot drop from the established grade on the lower side of the property, they walk out or whatever it is.
Well, there's always gonna be an exception where, and this is gonna go further.
Yeah.
This is what it comes out to.
Right.
There's
And I
gonna be
think
some
that's
kind
why
of
it was
extreme
put in.
sooner or later, I don't know.
That's why it was put in there as far as that 20 foot. But 20 foot is an extreme drop. But I know if you've got a hill coming down here toward the lake, and then you've got established grade up here, it's already here, but you're going 20 feet, you're not gonna quite get that steep pointed. Man, a lot of times we've got those because I don't think established grade was ever put where it's supposed to be.
They're at the southwest corner of the lake. That's a pretty steep drop off.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is different than, say, most places on the East Shore.
In the northeast, it's pretty much
I
it too.
can't think who suggested it, but, honestly, it's a reasonable thing on line of sight, it's just eliminated.
That would be my
But
proposal
why
as
would
well.
the
I don't
setback
think
comply
that we
with
can
setback?
find anything that really helps us with the line of sight. It's helping the property owners.
I think if this is your house, you should be able to look out from the side of your property, the side of your property to the lake, and that's your line of sight.
I think.
What
line of
some
sight
neighbor
should not
does
even
over
be
here or
input,
there should not be included.
Because the line of
What do you
sight,
think?
I think we need to just establish it. I'm fine with that. I know you're gonna get a lot of grief from people that
Yeah.
that have had to follow the rule the other way, but I'm sitting on a project because this is in limbo. So we're not moving forward on it until you guys make a decision.
the whole problem with the line of sight is not a view. Line of sight has never been intended for view.
It was intended for view, but I
But-
agree with your problem. I'm
It's
not
been-
gonna argue
yeah.
that it's not a thing.
But I'm saying if they go from this coin, because they're trying to add view across somebody else's
Trying
property.
to get a view like this.
Right,
Instead of
and the
like
view
this.
has never been written in the book. It's line of sight, which is the line of sight, not looking at the water. You're looking from the setbacks. And that's the line of sight. Has nothing to do as far as the way it's written, as far as what you can see from your bedroom window. And that's where it's, our written definition of a line of sight, which we don't really have it other than how it's established. So we have no definition to go by. And so now all we got is procedure, and then the procedure is either questioned by us or to him. And even after a established grade or anything like that is established, and if there is an argument between the contractor owner, or whatever, and the building commissioner, which building commissioner has the authority to say this is where it's at. So why is that any different from line of sight? And that's just a out question, it's not directed. But I agree with Don. I think our line of sight right now shouldn't be there. I think we've got protected lake ordinance, which is 25 feet. And anything else you're doing, you're either de-evaluating the one that's building the property or raising the value of the properties on each side. So I don't think our decision should always be made as far as where a person can build a house on their own property based on somebody else's view of the lake. Period. Yeah, I personally don't see how that would be hold up in court.
How did it get in there?
Hmm?
How did it get into the ordinance?
For being recorded.
Okay.
I think it was,
It was put in a long time ago.
it was used,
Jerry and Chester and I are probably the only ones that remember, but it was put in
it was,
by public input because they wanted to protect the views, because the BZA was getting questions on this stuff.
that
how
was
the
what
park
was
could push
directed
forward.
toward. But the use was used prior to that. It was a use of, to be established as far as line of sight, and it was suggested and even agreed upon landowners, contract landowners. And then it was put in writing, which it wasn't ever, it was agreed upon, but it never was sent to the council or be amended. I can
It's
remember.
been in there for more than one ordinance.
Yeah, but it was not, I mean, it was approved after the fact, yes. It's not that
No,
it's in there
it's
illegally
just
or anything
joined.
like that. But it, I mean, I suggest that we put at least these two items on our next meeting.
I would agree.
And if anybody has anything else, had a chance to look, I mean, I know you don't come up with the problems, see them or directly, like Chuck and I do, more than anybody else. But that's not saying that you don't sit there, you can actually see what some of these ordinances might cause a problem or enhance something else or whatever. I would like to everybody look at that. Now, that's something that I know several past members, I mean, they would come up and be reading ordinance. Why are we doing this? Why is it like this? This is causing problems. And a lot of it comes from time too. See things brought in and we're having issues. We're on the east side that our ordinance is not either not covering enough or it's not working. And so we have to change it.
So Barry, do you just want it as an agenda item or do you want the public hearing or you want to wait on that till you guys have had a thorough discussion?
We've had discussion. It sounds like, I mean, I'll leave it up to you guys. I mean, what do you think? If you want to vote to have the public hearing next meeting, we'll do so.
I think I'd want to actually see the text of any ordinance changes first. And then, so we're actually,
But that,
as opposed to discussion, we're looking at something on the screen. Yeah,
So working item for us at the next meeting.
yeah,
Right.
and then maybe
But,
public hearing in May.
right. Okay, because I know the only two we're looking at right now is either remove one and change one from 25 to 10.
Yes.
And
No, we got
And a
three:
proposed definition for,
proposed definition for the law.
establishing grade, line of sight, and
Yeah.
the rear yard setback.
Rear yard setback.
maybe you could come out of that meeting with text for each that you want changed in the ordinance and then we can
Yeah.
submit that as the publication. Because I think the public hearing, you have to list the changes that you want to make.
Yeah.
Right, they'll
Probably.
actually be readable.
Yeah, so you could come out of your next meeting with whatever you want it to be.
But our next meeting is also going to be the public hearing.
415 Lake Shore. If they get their application in on time, yes.
And that's for what?
4:15,
Oh, yeah.
that's why I'm like,
We're gonna have here till midnight.
Well, once we have the public hearing.
I'll bake cookies for the next one.
Please.
They'll leave and then we'll have the working meeting on those 3 items. There's no way they're gonna stick around.
We'll try to have all 3 of those
But
defined in
public
writing.
hearing After the discussion of the setbacks.
Make them wait. We should make them wait. Sneaky. Yeah.
Oh, I see them wanting to have input.
You're last on the agenda for tonight, sorry.
Sorry, we're just working on this.
That'd be a task.
Cool your jets, cool your jets.
So where is the elevation?
Right.
If they do make it on time, do you want the hearing at the beach lodge?
What?
Because we can schedule it there if there's not already an event there.
When it's a public hearing, I'd say yes.
Okay.
But if it's not a public hearing, I think it'd be necessary because they don't bring things and pitchforks to the public hearing.
And
I've seen them bring them to regular meetings. So.
do we want to have Amber put some, if it does get moved there, do we want to have Amber put something on the sign saying like, public hearing tonight? You're on the little marquee out there.
Is that required?
Yeah.
It's not
We can't have
required.
arrow signs. I know that. We can't have arrow
I think everyone knows where the beach lodge
Have
is.
there
you
and
think?
tell anybody.
They
How's
do,
that?
but usually when you say beach, some people go beach lodge.
Oh.
Depot. Some people go beach lodge.
19th.
Depot.
Oh,
This
yeah, that-
next meeting for this week. If they get in for the PUD, then that's when we'll hear it, so.
I will admit that during COVID and stuff, when we were starting to come back, I did get turned around.
Yeah.
Like, we're meeting in the depot. The depot or the beach lodge?
Bobby, do you have any suggestions for any concerns about any ordinances other than what we've discussed? Or even with what we discussed?
No,
Same
I don't
thing.
have, no, I don't have anything to add.
You agree with, just discussing them in the next meeting and then we'll have something established for public hearing?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great plan.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other concerns other than what we discussed?
Who hasn't made a motion tonight?
Have not.
So you're gonna make a motion?
I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Bobby said aye.
I got you.
Not gonna do roll call?
No,
Roll call. Does that need to be roll call vote?
I
Everybody's getting,
stopped recording now. So.